Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM22. It's career mode. This is episode number 4. So here we are in our next objective. It's the second of 4 stage race win objectives in a row, and we're in a heap of trouble in this one already for more than one reason. So the first reason we're in trouble is my primary sprinter went down in a crash early in this stage, solo, nobody else around him, and I've gone through him and 3 domestiques not being able to get them back into the field. So I'm down to 2 guys. Second reason why we're in trouble is we are lapping them right now. Here's Verdijk, the guy who crashed. We are about to lap him on the circuit with, oh gosh, 3.5. I didn't realize there was only 3.5k to go. I thought I still had like 20k to go. Oh my goodness. I'm a minute into the episode and I was going times 2 speed and we've covered that much ground. Oops. Well, so much for my chances on this stage. My chances were not looking good anyway. Degrees. Luis looks actually really good today. 2.5k. Can we give him a proper lead out? Can we find some sort of success for the young rider? Luis, come on. Where's that speed? He just doesn't have it. Even with a +5 race day condition, our normal lead out guy just doesn't have the top speed. Does not have the top speed. We weren't in the worst of positions here, and we're supposed to win a stage in this race. Look how slow Luis was on that one. Yes, the red bar did run out before the finish line, causing him to drop back. But even when he sprinted, he was not overtaking anybody in front of him. He moved from an okay position to slightly up the field, but he was nowhere near contending. Now the big concern, we have 26 minutes. We should get everybody in time. That was my other real worry, was we were going to lose riders based on time cut, and that gap grows rapidly. It's at 12 minutes now, but it's not going to exceed 26 minutes. So we will have everybody for stage number 2. Let's hope things go a little bit better in the next stages to come. We have 7 sprint stages here. We're going to knock them out quickly, one after another, all within this episode. Let's see if we can do something more. Stage 2, 20k to go. I actually tried to do something differently for this stage, and that was get one of my 2 sprinters into the break and hope that there's going to be a stage where the breakaway can stay away, in which case our odds of getting a win go up significantly, because I'm just not sure this group is strong enough to win a sprint under normal circumstances. That being said, Field was not interested in either of my guys getting away. Therefore, we were chased hard each time, so I decided stop wasting energy, save it for the sprint, and now with 11k to go, breakaway was just reeled in. 131 left in the Peloton. Some riders have been dropped already. Vandermeer, Martin are both pretty much done, so as we go under the 10k banner here in just a moment, and we're going to increase our effort here significantly because we are approaching the end. Let's go ahead and gel up for Matienzo, who's going to take over. Vandermeer just got dropped. There we go. Okay, now behind Duggeries, we're going to put Verdijk instead of Luis, because the +5 race day condition 2 days in a row without any reason for the bonuses. Luis actually is on a 0 expected race day bonus. He's got a little bit of fatigue countering his objective, and it's leaving him at a 0, yet somehow he keeps grabbing a +5, while Verdijk, who's had a +2 expected each day, has been managing to get +1s. It's odd, but it is what it is. 6.5k to go. Matienzo getting blocked behind Luis, and then I upped the effort to max, and it rolled down to 83. Yes, that game's old bug is still here. It's not really a bug, but the oddity of that system is still here. It's never gone away. I was hoping one of these days they would fix that, because you roll up, it's supposed to increase, but for some reason, and we're at 3.6k, so Duggers needs to start sprinting, and Verdijk and Luis just need to kind of find their way through, and they are to an extent here. Shoot, gels. My bad on that part. Verdijk is chasing him down, So it is costing Verdijk a little bit of energy, but at 1.8k, how are we supposed to even get through here? Verdijk has no space. Luis has no space. They're not going to win a race like this. There's the finish line, 400 meters, and they just can't even get through the field. And that's the age-old problem, right? And that's why the lead out is so important. Unless you have a top sprinter or you're racing on easy difficulty where everybody else is just slow as molasses, you must get out front. You've got to get in position unless you have the best sprinter around. Position is massive, but we have no quality lead out riders. Even Verdijk and Luis, if they were the lead out riders, if they were the ones trying to set up a sprint team behind them, minimum 2 riders behind them, we'd be a little better off. They might be able to get us out front against some of the opposition, but having a team full of riders in their 50s for flat rating, they just can't get out front. I mean, we go 99 and they're still struggling behind. I'm not convinced that we're in a blue pill, red pill situation where if you take the red pill, you go down the rabbit hole and see what's in Wonderland. But I do think we are out of our element. We are beyond our limitations in this one. And here's a quick reason why. If you look at the favorites, 75-74 sprinter, we're looking at 73-73 and high flat ratings, 75-76, 74-75, 73-74. Jens W. Share is a 73-72, and we're looking all the way through the top 10 favorites beyond 70 in their sprint. We will be lucky to score a top 10 in any one of these 7 stages, fighting on. And when they are not, even with one of our riders many minutes behind already, a sprinter many minutes behind, and they won't let him get into the breakaway, it just suggests that we have no hope of getting anything with guys in their 50s and just a couple of them getting even anywhere near mid 60s, and that's only in the sprint, not in anything else. Low 60s. This group is not going to win a stage in this race. Therefore, let's go ahead and pick our battles. In this battle, lingering on with this one is wasting your time and mine. We're not going to win this objective. Suck it up, move on, try another race, hope that we have a chance in another one. We're going to get into dossiers in a moment. Let's go ahead and just push on to that. So the dossier system is essentially unchanged from previous years. We do have that top evaluation. We can see who those best riders are overall. I'm really surprised that they have seen Mark Cavendish rise this much this year, but of course he's had a fantastic resurgence over the last season, so to an extent I suppose that does make a certain amount of sense. And at 80, it's not like he's crazy high as a sprinter. But anyway, what we're looking at is guys that are far out of our reach. Okay, right now we have 30 dossier points. Eventually that will increase, it'll double to 60 at max. So we're not going to sign Enric Mas. Not going to happen. So what we need to do is we need to get a little more reasonable in what our options are. Right now our best rider is just a 2-star guy, so we have plenty of room to improve. But these guys with no interest whatsoever are going to be really hard to sign. Postelberger looks like somebody we might actually have a chance at signing because it's just 15 points, and he's an okay rider, but he's already 30, and let's not push the boundaries on that one. Skilmos is somebody we were looking at as a favorite target because of he's only 21 and already pretty good. But 40 points and no interest. Okay, that was a stretch for this year. We're going to have to remove him from the list. So I'm going to start by removing anybody who has no interest, as in that 15% or below, which is going to be a pretty long list. I mean, we were looking at 7,000 riders and we just cut it down by more than 500. That's actually leaving quite a few. And that suddenly gets us down into a manageable points structure where we're looking at 6 to 3 points. Now, the 16 to 30s are still not good. They're not good, but they can rise. They can get into the yellow. And we are going to have a bit of cash to spend in as you get down to, 3.5 stars kind of thing. Well, the riders aren't going to be asking anywhere near as much. You look at a rider like that, if that's 3.5 stars, I don't know if we're paying bare minimum, but we're definitely not paying a premium to get these guys. Maybe we pay them slightly more, but this is getting a lot more manageable. A 19-year-old sprinter with plenty of potential. I like that. I do like that quite a bit. So changing my filtering, let's start with the first piece of good news. 100% interest in riders that are 2.5 stars, so better than everything we have on the team right now. Unsigned riders, available riders, under 23 riders, 18-year-olds that are already 2.5 stars. So there's a good start, and they're interested. So signing some replacements that are going to be big upgrades for us is going to be quite easy because there's a ton of options here. We just need to know a bit more about these riders that are out here. Funny thing is, the very first rider that I go, oh, there's the one. There's the first dossier we're going to open. And we can't. Okay, so we found Allard Mateo, or Mateo Allard. And Mateo Allard's already at 3 stars. So we see that we can get 2 stars, 2.5 stars pretty easily. Quite a few of those options young. But 3 star is a different level. It's a different ball game. And we're looking at a 3 star who's got some potential, especially as a climber and stage racer and puncher, which would be great. Here's why we can't sign him. He's French. And I have 4 nations that we cannot sign a rider for next season. So there is your first roadblock, obstacle of we can't go after this rider. I'm about to do what feels like an absolutely impossible task. And that is, I'm going to go through the list of free riders, people who aren't signed, which means they're all available already. We know they're available. I only know so much about so many of them. And so there's going to be a lot of just like, ooh, we're going to look for somebody with high-end potential on the fly, because I'm not sure how we're going to find them here in the dossiers otherwise. It's tricky when we are very limited on what sort of scouting we can do at this point in time. And there's lots of riders we don't know about. Muhammad here, 1.5 star current, does have some potential as a sprinter, but at 4.5, that's not somebody we're necessarily going to bother with. And I don't know how long I want to stick with this sort of plan. Scouting's trickier this year for sure, and there's better ways to do this. And I'm really trying to explore all of those options because, to be honest, I want to put out a scouting tutorial here as soon as possible. And I need to know what's going to work and what isn't going to work. The hard way, the easy way, the right way. So I've used 3 different methods so far to search for riders to add to our dossier list, and none of the methods have failed, and none of the methods have proved super successful either. So probably we're at some sort of combination of all methods to determine where we want to go with our dossiers. But here's what we have so far. So we have a Lawrence Pithy. Pithy is a sprinter / puncher, and Pithy has a potential of 5 on his punch. He'll be a pretty decent sprinter as well, most likely. And with some interest and not too many points, we have a decent chance of being able to sign the rider. Culverwell is another one that we went after, and Lowland Sicarius. These young riders, we're looking at a sprinter there and a puncher there. So puncher is a little easier to find at the moment. But Hamza Amari is one that I found the hard way, and I'm pretty happy here because even though he's not great right now, he's got a 5 potential in the sprint. Adrian Bustamante as a puncher has a 4.5 and 4.5 potential in the sprint. So 4.5 for the punch and for the sprint. We're looking at, some fairly good ratings. And already looking at this rider, right? Adrian Bustamante is better than everybody we have on our team. That's the thing. All 5 of these guys, there's a fair amount of interest. We've got a good chance of signing all 5 of them, and all 5 of them would instantly improve this team and take us to a very different competitive level than what we're at right now. I would love to pull some dossiers from our scouting, but honestly, none of it's ready to go just yet. It's not until level 7 where we're going to actually lock down some real potential on these guys. And right now, the ones that are at the highest levels are some of the youngest. There's only one of those that I have committed to additional observations, and we push that back anyway, so it's at the end of the list right now. The 18-year-olds that we're getting after, we just don't know enough about. The only one who has come in rating fairly high is Vlad van Mechelen, and we can't sign him anyway as a Belgian rider until the following year, so we kind of have to hope that he's still available, and we don't even know what his potential is at this stage anyway. So right now, at least, the scouting, useless. We have a couple months for that to turn into something and add names to our list, but for now, the dossiers we're going to have to get is from the dossier page that I think might be working slightly better than our approach in the other methods. It's certainly faster. So searching young riders with a moderate amount of interest, there's a lot that showed up. We've got a lot of current 3-star evaluation guys. The only problem with this one is we have to go through and look at them one by one to know what their actual potential is and how they are. I mean, you can see what their current attributes are, which you could see immediately would be improvements. But we don't just want an improvement upon the current squad. We want to build for the future and get better. So we need to find the guys that have the high potential. The list of 3-star ones, it's about 2 pages, visual pages worth. So, I've got about 36 options to look through here. I think we'll have no problem finding, as they're all 3-pointers. I'm pretty sure we'll find 4 decent candidates out of this list for this part. I figured I could find 4. Technically, I found a 5th one who was on the edge, on the borderline of being good enough, and I waited on that one. Sure enough, though, I did find 4 solid options. Some pretty good ones at that. So Mattis Mikkels, 5.5-star sprinter potential, 5-star classics potential. This is somebody who could essentially be world class, and at 3 stars already, we're talking about instant upgrade plus high potential. Riley Pickrell's a little more straightforward, just a strong sprinter who can be okay in the classics department. I did finally find somebody who can climb, and that's been a real worry point of what we have so far. Of course, long term, you want to build an all-around team capable in multiple areas. A lot of what we found is sprinters or punchers so far, but as we grow, develop, as we gain reputation, we're going to be able to go after bigger, better riders, and then ultimately I think we can start getting into climbers. But we have found one for now in Vincent Van Hemelen. Van Hemelen is, oh gosh, is he even available? Oh, he's Belgian. Crap. I didn't look at that. We're going to have to hang on to him, or hang on to the hope that we could sign him after a year. I don't think that's going to happen. That's the only mistake I made in that area was Van Hemelen. We did have one other really good one, though, in Fredheim. Look at that sprint capability. 5.5-star, so almost world-class, or could be world-class, plus the puncher and classics ratings. So is this the next Wout van Aert? Well, you would think he's got to be at least max 6-star and 5.5 in the others to really be a Wout van Aert, but could be a Matthew van der Poel right there, Uno X rider. I'm excited for that one. I really hope we can get this young rider signed. He's just 18 years of age, already very good, and is going to just get better and better and better. So having moved forward to our next objective, again, we're still in that stage win category where it's probably a bit of a stretch. The field's not as deep as it was in that last race. We're not looking at 4 or 5 guys that are around 75s, and then another half dozen or upwards of 10 to 12 that are in the 70 range. We're looking at just a couple of riders in the lower mid 70s, and then it does start to fall off a little bit. So we are not as far out of reach, but we're still pretty far out of reach. In fact, the favorites for this race, 3 of the 4 favorites are guys that I either targeted or wanted to target but couldn't target for the reasons of of them being already of a nation that we already have. Ooh, there's a group here. Come on, catch on. Okay, that's nice. That's good. Put them on auto. That's a whole team that went back to get one rider. Went back to get their team leader. Well, anyway, so we have a field that's just, not quite as strong, and 3 out of 4 favorites are guys that I was targeting. 1 we actually do have an open dossier on. 2 that I wanted to open a dossier on but couldn't via the rules, or they were too expensive. And only 1 of those that I didn't bother with, and that's only because of the age. She's much too old. So this is the kind of field that just it's not our field, but it's better than what we had in the last race. So we'll give this stage a chance. Let's see if we can even crack the top 10. If we are still well off, if we put in a good run and are still only around 20th, then it's going to be clear that this race is still a step too hard as well, and we'll have to just kind of ease off and suck it up. The only good thing about failing right now is that each time you fail, the punishment is less of a punishment. Reason being is your rating just gets lower and lower in your results category, but the impact becomes less so because it's an average of your areas, and once it's already dropped down, it can only drop so far. So where we lost 18%, I think, in our evaluation after failing the first stage win objective, failing the second one, it only dropped by about 10%. So this one should hopefully only drop us down 6 or 7% if we do in fact fail. The last one should only drop us down a few percent, and then as long as we can achieve 1 or 2 objectives along the way, we may still pull off neutral. All right, well, anyway, here we are, getting close. 35k to go. Lombard, go ahead and try to get, it's a little late for this, but try and get water. 32k. The climbs aren't much. Really not much. I mean, it's getting to 9% near the top, but it's not that long. But I'm pretty weak when it comes to climbing. First one wasn't bad. There's still 13 riders off back now, back in contact. So we do have some guys losing ground here, and let's speed things up to an 85 for this next one. Breakaway's nearly been caught. At the moment, we're still in it. We're not having to push too hard. Luckily, the field is not overly confident in their puncher / sprinters here, and trying to eliminate a lot of the pure sprinters. It's just something that I would do if I had that ability, but we're just too weak for that. Now 14k to go, no breakaway anymore, and we are right near the front. Nobody's pushing too hard, so task done on that. We are actually in contention for this sprint. Let's make sure nobody's too far back. Just Sula. Okay, so Sula is going to go onto the back end of this thing for now, trying to break toe. We'll put him behind. Do we want Luis or Verdijk? I'm guessing it's probably going to be a Luis stay. He's on a +1. That's one thing that's going to hurt us a little bit, is we did not get a great draw. Yes, they're looking quite similar, but Verdijk a little bit down on the stamina resistance. Got a couple +5s, but they're really weak riders to begin with. There's a 60. And then Vandermeer gets a 59, and then Green. I mean, that's Good, right? That's good. That's something. Okay, Lombard, get us out front. Let's go hard here initially. You have such a low rating anyway. You're going hard. Look at everybody else accelerating now and riding away from us. 9K. Come on, sprint, Lombard. Sprint. Gentle sprint, but sprint. Green, come on. Come on through. Lombard, sprint harder. 7K. Get these guys gelled up and start pushing harder. Sula, the only one who is feeling it right now. I'm guessing that's because he's actually making his way through the field to catch up to us. 5K to go. Gel for all. On to Green. Green needs to push pretty dang hard here. Get to the outside. Get to the outside. They're going to stay tucked into the inside here for a little bit. Get us going through. Come on, can you? 4K to go. Okay. Okay. 3.7. Vandermeer, pretty much full gas, or road changes directions and we just cannot get through. 2.2. On to Orr's sprint. Vandermeer, stay out of the way, please. Thank you. Okay, Verdijk and Luis. Dyke is staying tucked in on his teammate instead of getting out in the open. Why? Why are you doing that? You had plenty of room. Or was stayed tucked in all the way to the left-hand side, was out of the way. Now Verdijk, unleashed, goes clear, and we're nowhere near the stage win. But honestly, we don't know what that could have been. And it's Pivy. Pivy, there's the one we do have the dossier on, who has claimed the win today. I can already tell he is so much stronger than what we have, though. Verdijk gets 15th. We can't even crack the top 10. But part of that was when we tried to sprint with Verdijk, he had plenty of space there to go between Orr and the rider that was essentially in the third lane over. That second lane was well clear, and Verdijk just seemed to get locked in and could not find the space in there. So I don't know if that's what would be causing that, because that was more than enough space to get through. He just didn't go. So how much better that might have been, I don't know. 15K to go here on stage 2, and we do have actually a decent chance at this race. Maybe. The Peloton is getting quite small, yet somehow we have persevered. But Vandermeer is going to be the latest one to get dropped. I'm down to 3 riders now. Verdijk is pretty tired. He's got a -2. So, again, with the low resistance, he just keeps getting poor draw after poor draw. But Luis got a +4 today. His expected was a +3, so it's not like it was crazy high or anything. He had a +1 on the other stage. He's just got the objective and fitness peak going. But anyway, Verdijk still in position, good enough to be a lead out with 10K to go, and Orr, who's got a +5 today, is looking pretty solid. Luis is definitely the guy we ride for, though, on this one. And as we have 9K to go, we're going to have to get in position here fairly soon. 84 is not going to do it anymore either. All right, go ahead and set that up to a 90, and then we will gel for Orr right now. We're going to have to try to get these guys forward, but it's 52 riders and a little bit of a descent here. It's going to give us a chance. Let's set this up now. I just don't know how well Verdijk is going to do on that lead out. Maybe he needs to go first. He does need to go first. You know what? Gel up for him as well. Verdijk is just too weak today. Yeah, we put him on the front, and look at that. He's barely gotten 1K, but he did get us out front. He got us out front. 4.5K to go, though. So Orr cannot sprint from here. Verdijk and Orr end up going the same way. That didn't work out terribly well, but 3.3K. Okay, Orr starting his sprint. He's going to keep it going here as we kind of ride through the crowd. We're going to take off coming out of this one. Just over 1K. Luis, though, Not a great sprinter, but look at this. This is competitive. We are actually competitive. He's fading just before the line. He's going to probably lose his 4th place as a result. It's Pithy again, the winner. We do fade just before the line, but that's part of the problem. You could see how he had a good position. He had a fairly decent lead out finally, and he started his sprint the same time they did. He almost kept up with these guys who were faster than him, but what happened at the end? They kept going, he faded. Why is that? The stamina resistance. He just doesn't have enough to keep the effort up. So that it's not one thing, it's many things that are slowing us up. By the way, another one of our Dossier's Riley Pickrell. Top 20s in both stages, but outside of the top 10 in both stages. That was probably the best chance we're going to see, and it's just not happening. We almost had the top 5, but there was no way we were going to get on that podium, and in the end we still barely even got a top 10. 7th place on this one. This team's best hopes are just squeezing into the top 5 and not winning anything. Therefore, the stage win objectives are impossible unless we have a pretty weak field, and this just isn't that. There's those few guys in that low mid 70s, and they're blowing us away. They were the ones at the front. We couldn't quite get with the ones. We could just almost beat the ones that are about a 70, but it's just that combination and that low stamina resistance just isn't enough, and the weak lead out that we're getting. But we definitely aren't going to beat those guys who are in the mid 70s that are easily winning, even though we were right there with them. They rode away from us. I can see how we started in front of Pithy. We're already sprinting, and Pithy's just cruising on by. Look how much faster he is as he headed for the finish on that one. So that means we are going to go ahead and concede defeat on this one. The other 4th race, that's stage win style, it'll depend on the field. It'll depend on what we end up with in that field. If it's got some weaker riders in it, if its top end is about a 70, we may have a chance. Barely, but it might happen. Perfect storm. This one, there is no perfect storm. We're not going to beat the entirety of those guys. Those ones that are in the mid 70s. They're well beyond our reach, our capability. Look how close we are, but look how fast everybody else is flying past us. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode, and we're going to concede defeat on this one. Like I said, it's hopefully only going to drop us by about 6%, but that's going to put us right on the edge now of neutral down to partial failure in the sponsor confidence, which would lead to a decrease in sponsor money come next season. But being on the edge of that with only one more sure failure to go means there's still a good chance we can get back into that neutral territory before the end of the season. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now. Quick bonus footage here at the end of the episode. After 2 stages, right, things were not looking good. Stage 3 was a punchy one, and we actually held on to get same time as everybody else. And Luis was in the top 10 in the GC. So stage 4, I went out and went ahead and competed. I got him a top 5 on the stage. It was a really good result. In fact, I actually won a sprint, but it was only for 4th place because the breakaway took the top 3. And because the breakaway took the top 3 and moved themselves up the order, 2 out of 3 of them anyway, the field really didn't bother to contest the sprint. And that's why I won the sprint. Not because we were the best sprinter, but because we beat everybody else. But that was enough to move me up in that average order one spot. Anyway, I got a top 10 overall. So even though we failed the objective, we did get a single plus for getting in the top 10. That helped quite a bit. We only dropped about 3% on that sponsor confidence, keeping us in the happy zone. And with one more failure, one more almost sure failure to come, I think we've actually got a pretty good chance of hanging on to a neutral evaluation, which will keep us at 90,000 for next season. So that was actually a big win for us, getting that top 10 for Luis. Bye for now.